Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another TI Testimonies. Today we have Stuart here, a TI that says that he's been targeted for over 10 years of his life. We're going to have Stuart come on here and he's going to give his testimony. But first, we're going to ask a couple questions. Um, Stuart, you said you've been targeted for over a decade now. And I want to know more about what kind of targeting you're experiencing and how it is similar to other people that you've talked to and what they've been experiencing.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm a civil rights activist, and even though the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion says that they oversee civil rights in America, they've actually flipped the script. And what they're really doing is they're attacking people who are civil rights activists and freedom fighters. So for me, the main way they attack me is through electronic weapons. And there's a website that people can go to, which is www.electronictorture.com. And that website explains some of the weapons that I've been targeted with. Another thing they love to do is mess around with my oxygen. So I carry around one of these, which is a pulse oximeter, also called a pulse oximeter. And I have to monitor my pulse and my oxygen basically 24/7, 24/7. And my oxygen gets messed around with all the time. A lot of times I have low oxygen. So I use a CPAP machine to sleep to, even though normally I would definitely not need a CPAP machine. But because the FBI messes around with my oxygen at night so much, I do use a CPAP machine to sleep by. Also, the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion has altered my medical records so many times, which is so illegal, which also means they're hacking into healthcare systems and altering reports. They can hack into the electronic medical record and they can change phrases. They can delete what the doctor wrote or what a nurse practitioner wrote. They can add false statements to the medical records, and then it turns everything into a lot of fraud. I've also had my home broken into. I've had things stolen from me, clothes, items. I've had my nutritional supplements have been attacked before, where when I was taking them, I got sick. One time, one of my doctors and I, we found out the name of a person at the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion, and we were looking at him on a forensics app, and we discovered he had an alias. And we were talking about this man who is attacking me. And within a week's time, me and that doctor both got attacked by the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion. And we were both really, really sick. We had gastritis, which is like, when your stomach feels poisoned. And I came very, very close to having to go to the emergency room. However, I slept it off. But my doctor had the same symptoms. And, she was really, really mad that happened to both of us. Um, let's see. there have been times. There was one time when they faked a lot of supplemental security income. The Fanatical Bureau of Illusion was faking a lot of medical records, and what they were trying to do was kick me off of SSI, which is supplemental security income. But somehow I discovered it and I foiled the plan. And so then the FBI backed down because, I caught them doing that. In 2018, I actually sued the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion in the United States. I sued them in federal court in Atlanta, Georgia. There's a federal court there with a lot of federal judges. I filed the lawsuit as a pro se litigant, which means without attorneys. And I got pretty lucky, and I had about 4 or 5 federal judges look at all my stuff that I filed with the clerk of the court. And they had to dismiss it at some point because I did not have any lawyers, but I still achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was to put a lot of information into the federal court system to get a case number. And the case is called Stuart Satterfield versus Ray Doubleday, Ray, last name Doubleday, Stuart Satterfield versus Ray Doubleday. Now, one of the things that some of your viewers, Devin, may have an issue with is when they look up that lawsuit online, it's going to make people have to look at the lawsuit through a website called pacer.com. So it's www.pacer. It's either .com or .gov. The problem is, though, is the federal government makes people pay. When they look through federal lawsuits, you have to pay some money per page that you're looking at. So it's either pacer.gov, G-O-V, or it's pacer.com. So anyway, let's see. One time, the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion infected me with a deadly bacteria called Klebsiella pneumonia, and I had to take 2 rounds of antibiotics to become cured of that. So that was a big deal. And another time, they attacked my mouthwash and my hydrogen peroxide. And what they did is they made me have an infection in my mouth. So I went to a dentist, and the dentist said, Stuart, you're going to have to go see an oral surgeon. So here in Atlanta, we have a healthcare system called Emory University. So I went to the oral surgery department of Emory University Healthcare. And then the surgeon said, you need to go see a periodontal specialist. Now, a periodontal doctor, what they do is they clean your gums. It's very expensive treatment, but they do a very good job cleaning your gums and everything. And it takes a long time for them to do it. And it costs a lot of money. And my brother paid for the treatment. And then I got better. And luckily, I did not need oral surgery. But there was a question there of whether I was going to need oral surgery because of the government's attack against me. But luckily, I did not. Now, Devin, so far, did any questions pop into your head that you want to ask me about? If not, that's fine. I can continue, but I want to give you the opportunity to see. I want to see if any questions popped up in your head.
One question I have for you is, Do you know your
Okay.
Myers-Briggs
So it looks like you
personality
don't
type?
have any questions, so I'm going to keep on going. Um, the government has flattened my tires before. They messed with my car in many other ways as well. And my mechanic knew that sabotage was involved. And we knew that the sabotage was coming from the government. Oh boy, you know what? I used to, but that was like 15 or 20 years ago.
Sorry,
So I
man. It's
can't
skipping and it's got like a
tell you what it is right
30-second
now. I'm
lag
sorry.
or something.
Maybe I can get back to you on that, but I wish I could. But I'm basically more of an extrovert than an introvert. I can definitely tell you that. I can also tell you I'm very compassionate and empathetic. So those two parts I know, but I can't give you my Myers Briggs type right now. Let's see, what was I going to say next? So one of the things that I okay. So one of the things that happened was my car kept getting attacked, my automobile, and I call it death by a thousand lashes because what happened was they murdered my car, my automobile, via death by a thousand lashes, and eventually I had to give up my automobile and I had to sell it as junk because they just kept attacking it, and at some point it was dead. But my mechanic and I both realized that the government cheated me of at least 70, 80,000 miles. My car should have gone like way, 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 way longer than it did because I was keeping up proper maintenance and all that. But when the FBI keeps, or excuse me, the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion, when they keep attacking you or your car over and over again, you're going to break down at some point. Now, some people say to me, Stuart, how in the world can you handle all these attacks from the government? And the bottom line is, I've had a lot of traumas in my life. I've had a lot of hard knocks, and I just always keep up. I just always keep going. I just keep solving the problem. I reach out to people for help. I have had to call 911 a lot, and I have been to hundreds of emergency rooms in the Atlanta metro area because of the US government attacking me, the federal government. One time I went to go see my best friend in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And when I was there, the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion did not leave me alone. As a matter of fact, they attacked me really, really hard with an electronic weapon because I was out of state. I was out of Georgia. I was out of my county. I was out of my city. So they planned that attack. They wanted to do an out of state attack. So I was laying there in my friend's house, and all of a sudden they hit me with an electronic weapon, and my pulse went into the 160s, and it was staying in the 160s. So I had to call 911 in Chattanooga, and I went to a hospital in Chattanooga, which I think is called CHI. And then while I was at the hospital, they tried to disconnect me from my best friend who lives in Chattanooga, and they tried to separate us so that we could not get back together. And, you know, they were trying to basically medically kidnap me. But instead, my best friend and her husband were able to find me. and they were able to rescue me from the lobby of the hospital once I was discharged. But the FBI was definitely trying to keep us disconnected, you know. Now, there's been another attempt more recently to try to medically kidnap me, but I was able to discover the plot and I foiled the plot because I researched some paperwork that came to me in the mail, and the paperwork did not make sense. So I looked at it and I showed it to my doctor and I showed it to the manager of my primary care place, and we realized that the government was going to try to medically kidnap me. So I had to do a police report. I had to call Medicaid, and I had to like say, look, this is what's happening. And then the FBI felt embarrassed that they got caught. And then they changed it back so that, you know, I wasn't going to get medically kidnapped. Now, I don't know if your audience knows that medical kidnapping is a thing now, but some people probably know it and some don't. But these days, because the government is against the people, they have these medical kidnapping schemes. And I read about, actually, I heard a video of a woman talking about how she got medically kidnapped in Louisiana, and she was institutionalized and all that, and she was mistreated and abused. And she definitely considers herself to have been medically kidnapped. And now she swears she'll never go to Louisiana ever again. She said she'll always avoid the state of Louisiana from now on because of her medical kidnapping. Luckily, my medical kidnapping did not go that far. Okay, so let's see. So I want to talk about high pulses. So when pulse goes above 100, it's called tachycardia. So I've been in tachycardia many times. And when your pulse goes higher than that, it's called symptomatic tachycardia. So the highest the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion has ever zapped me, the highest they've ever zapped me was in the 200s. I think I was around like about 221, which is really high. That means 221 heartbeats per minute. So that means my heartbeat was having to go really fast to churn out 221 heartbeats in 60 seconds. Luckily, my heart can handle it, but the only reason my heart can handle such a high pulse or such a high level of tachycardia is because the government, when they've been zapping me over all of these years, they've been trying to make me have a heart attack. But what they accidentally did is they made my heart stronger. So while trying to give me a heart attack or make me faint, they actually made my heart stronger. So right now I'm 55 years old, but my heart is like that of a gold medal Olympic athlete, because when the FBI tried to damage my heart, they accidentally made it really strong. Now, the other day, I was walking to my primary care physician's office, and the FBI did not want me to go see my primary care physician doctor, whose name is Dr. Isom, ISOM. So I noticed when I was carrying my pulse oximeter, and I have two of them. I'm going to show you the other one too is red. Okay, I have a red one and I have a yellow one. And the reason I have two, Devin, is because I don't want somebody to say, well, your pulse oximeter was wrong. or your pulse oximeter must have not been calibrated properly. So that's why I have two, and they are calibrated with each other, and they do work properly, and nobody can say that it was wrong because I check it with two of these. So, like I said, I was going to my primary care doctor the other day, and I looked at my pulse oximeters, and the government was zapping me at pulse 192, 192, which is very high. When I told my doctor that, he was exasperated for me. That was him showing me, like, he said basically, like, wow, because he knew 192 would make a lot of people go to the emergency room. But instead, I just kept walking, and I went to my doctor's office, and I just told him. Now, my doctor knows that the government attacks me. He knows, and we talk about it all the time. Now, I want to pause for a moment, Devin, to see if you have any questions for me. If you don't, I'll
It's glitching out.
continue.
It's got like
But if you
a
have
30.
any questions, I'm
So
going to give you a
it's
chance
got
to
like a
jump
30
in.
second glitch, man. I can't even say anything. I'm just gonna let you keep going.
Okay, it looks like you don't have any questions for me. So I'm going to keep on. Let me just think of some of the stuff that I haven't covered yet. Let's see. Trying to get to the next stuff. I have very important stuff to say now. Okay, so I was a volunteer at the Humane Society because I love dogs and cats, and especially dogs. So I was a volunteer at the Humane Society here in Atlanta at the Howell Mill location, and the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion had come up with a scheme where they were going to use a gun to basically shoot me while I was walking one of the shelter dogs. Okay. So I was a volunteer at the Humane Society, and I turned into a very good volunteer. I was important to the Humane Society. I was important to the dogs, and so one day the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion did a trial run where they were practicing for a sniper shooting, and when that happened, I knew that they were doing that trial run to practice for shooting me because I'm not a dumbass, right? So I figured that out, and I had to quit being a Humane Society volunteer right then and there. I had to quit because I knew they were practicing I knew that the next time it was not going to be a trial run practice. And I knew that they were going to sniper me from one of the apartment buildings that surrounds the Humane Society. So, and also the people that showed up for the trial run, they were looking very suspicious. They were also looking at me, and the realized, if I don't quit being a volunteer here, then they're going to shoot me in the back while I'm walking a Humane Society dog. So I quit right then and there. And I was very sad because I loved working with the Humane Society dogs, but I had to quit for safety reasons and for survival reasons. So I quit for a long time. And then I decided, after a long period of time passed, because I was missing being a volunteer at the Humane Society, I decided to try it again. So I went back to the Humane Society. I was having a lot of fun being a volunteer again. I was walking the dogs a lot. I was getting exercise myself, of course, too, by walking the Humane Society dogs. And one day, I accidentally left some oral hygiene products at the Humane Society, and I left it in the volunteer area. And I was disconnected from my toothpaste, my toothbrush, and my this product called Gum Detoxify. And I realized I had left it at the Humane Society, and I even thought to myself, like, you know what? I really wish I would not have left those products there, because what if the FBI decides to attack my oral hygiene products? And then I thought, no, now you're being a little bit too paranoid, you know? So after a few days, I went back, and against my better judgment, Devin, I reused my oral hygiene products, and that was the precursor of when my mouth got infected. What I was talking about a little while ago, when I had to go to the oral surgeon and all of that. Well, the reason why is because I had left my oral hygiene products at the Humane Society. The FBI saw that through their surveillance equipment, and they took advantage of it, and they poisoned the toothpaste. They poisoned the Gum Detoxify, and trusting my judgment and not trusting my intuition and reusing those oral hygiene products. What I should have done, since I had accidentally left them where I volunteer, is I should have trusted my gut and thrown those products away, because I knew there was a possibility that they could have been contaminated, and they were. Now, there's been other things that I've had to do. There's been times when other food items were poisoned. And so I got my doctor to prescribe me some medicine that's been in controversy, called ivermectin. I used the ivermectin because my food was poisoned. And ivermectin is a very good medicine for cleaning up infections and stuff. So my doctor prescribed it for me. And that's one of the things I use if I get poisoned with whether it's nanoparticulates, whether I'm getting poisoned with whatever, ivermectin is one of my go-to medicines. Let's see. One of the things the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion has also done is they've really slandered me in the city of Atlanta. I probably could sue the FBI for libel and slander, because they've said a lot of lies about me to people. And I'm not saying that is a lie. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is one of their favorite ways to character assassinate people is to create fictional stories about their targeted individual, in this case, me. And they've created a bunch of lies about me. And a lot of times I find out about the lies, and sometimes I don't. So there might be certain lies circulating about me in the city of Atlanta, and I might not even know about it. And then there's other lies, like I said, that I find out about. Either someone tells me, or I find out through the grapevine, or I figure it out. I'm going to give you an example. One time I went to this place called Dick's Sporting Goods, and the item that I bought did not work properly like I thought it would. And so I decided, this item's really not for me. I'm just going to return it. So I did. And then I went across the street to eat at a restaurant. And I had my rolling suitcase with me, because remember, I don't have a car. So a lot of times I'll roll a suitcase with me, and my suitcase acts as a legal briefcase as well. And I went over to a restaurant, and the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion literally called the restaurant and told the manager that was on her shift, told her that I had shoplifted in the sporting goods store. And I did no such thing at all. And they had that manager come and talk to me as if I had just shoplifted in the store. But there's a video of me in the store returning a product. And there's no video of me shoplifting in the store, which was Dick's Sporting Goods, because I did not shoplift in the store. So I was sitting there eating my food, and the manager sat down with me and was talking about, oh, I met this guy before, and wow, he actually dressed similar to you. Oh, he had a similar black hat to the one that you have on. And he had shoplifted in Dick's Sporting Goods, and I had to call the police. And she was telling me all this BS. And I knew that the FBI had told her this to do this scenario with me. And of course, I did not get nervous or anything because I had not done anything wrong. And then she left, and I was mad at the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion for having the manager do that to me while I was trying to enjoy my lunch. And I was also mad at myself because I could have opened my suitcase and showed her that I did not shoplift from Dick's Sporting Goods. So I should have done that. And also, she probably got paid about $100 or maybe $200 from the Fanatical Bureau of Illusion. She probably got paid $100 or $200 to act like I shoplifted in the store that was across the street from the restaurant where she works, and the restaurant where I was trying to have an enjoyable lunch. But she and the government ruined my lunch. Okay, so those kind of things happen too. Let's see. There's been times where they've manipulated me on a pharmacy relationship with my pharmacy. And one time I was getting a cough drop out of my medicine cabinet, and I opened up the cough drop wrapping, and I looked at the product, and it wasn't a cough drop at all. It didn't even look like my cough drops. My cough drops were golden, and this cough drop was white, and it was not the same substance, and it was a bigger pill. And of course, Devin, I did not put that in my mouth because I knew that someone thought that I was going to be a dumbass and open that up and not pay attention to it and just put it in my mouth and, suck on it like you do a cough drop. But what I did is I immediately noticed that someone messed with my stash of cough drops in there. So I went to CVS, which is where I normally go for my pharmacy, and I started an investigation. But CVS and I basically figured out that the tampering of my product probably happened at my home instead of at their pharmacy or at one of their manufacturers. We realized someone probably broke into my house, took the regular cough drop out, and put the poisonous thing in there, or what I'm claiming was probably poisonous. Like I said, I didn't consume it. And so we concluded the investigation as the product was tampered with on my property. But that means someone took some keys. They entered my property with those keys, knowing I was gone from my home. I live in a condo. They knew I was gone. I was probably running errands. And that's probably when they sabotaged that cough drop. Or I could have been at the emergency room because of the FBI attacking my pulse and making me have a high pulse or tachycardia. So if I was in the emergency room, they could have also broken into my home then and tampered with the cough drop product from the CVS pharmacy and store. So let me see. There was another time before the FBI completely murdered my car, my automobile. There was a time where I was driving on the highway of Illusion, had obviously hired a professional sports car driver because what happened was this car overtook me. And I drive too fast, by the way. I usually speed some, and I'm not proud of that, but I usually go faster than the speed limit. But the person managed to get in front of me, and then they slammed on their brakes. But luckily, I reacted really fast, and I slammed on the brake. I had very good instincts, and I slammed on my brakes too. And somehow, just by a matter of a couple of inches, I avoided hitting the car in front of me, which was the saboteur. What they were trying to do was make me crash into their car, because then the police would have said it was my fault because I would have hit the car from behind. So as you know, Devin, usually when you hit a car from behind, the police say, okay, it was your fault. You must have been driving too close or something like that. You hit the car from behind, so it's your fault. Well, luckily, I did not hit the car, but I literally came only inches from avoiding a wreck on a major highway, which is I-75 and I-85. In Atlanta, Interstate 75 and Interstate 85, they joined together in the middle of Atlanta. So I was on a double interstate. And once the professional driver realized that a crash was not going to occur, he or she, it was probably a he, but it could have been a she. I'm just going to say he, right when he could no longer maintain trying to make me crash into him, he peeled off to the left so that he did not hit a bridge. And then I peeled off to the right because my destination was to the right hand side when the two interstates split. So he split to the left. I avoided a crash, and I split off to the right. And somebody said to me, "Are you sure it wasn't just a crazy driver?" And I said, I am 100% sure, because I know that was a professional driver by the way everything happened. That person's job was to make me crash into the back of them. I just got extremely lucky that I reacted really, really fast and that my brakes were really, really good. So anyway, that was a really close call for a collision, but I have God on my side. Now, by the way, some of your viewers may be atheists, some may be agnostic or whatever, but I'm a believer in God, and I feel like I'm still alive because God has saved my life many, many, many times. That's my orientation, but someone does not have to be a God-believing person to understand this targeted individual testimony. I'm just throwing that in there. I think that I'm like the cat with 9 lives. I should have been dead by now, and I'm still not. Now, speaking of the word dead, many of the things that I just talked about were assassination plots and assassination attempts. But since I'm still doing this targeted individual testimony, obviously the assassination plots and the assassination attempts did not work, because I'm talking today with Devin Devine on May 17th, 2023. And Devin, I think that's going to be my testimony for this platform. I really appreciate the fact that you allowed me to do this, and
I
hope
apologize that there was a
that
glitch on here this whole time, but I wish that I could have taken more part in there, and I was listening to your testimony. It was a great testimony, and I hope that other people know how much this matters, that people are out here like you speaking the truth, because the truth is what helps everybody. If it wasn't for people speaking the truth, doing what you're doing right now, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd probably be dead or in jail. If it wasn't for the support
yes,
that we have helping each other, a lot of us wouldn't be making it right now. So it's good that you're doing this, and I'm glad that we finally got to do it, man. This is great.
Now, Devin, Devin, I know that you might hear this in a delayed fashion, but I have a question for you. Can you please tell us your YouTube channel and tell me your YouTube channel? And can you also spell it out as well so I can write it down?
This channel is TI Testimonies on YouTube. Well, I have multiple channels actually, but it's at TI Testimonies, all one word. Now, it could be lowercase, could be uppercase. I don't think it really matters. And it's just
And that's
youtube.com.
on YouTube?
Yep, youtube.com/at TI Testimonies. Or I think you can put /user/TI Testimonies. And then we also have at Truth Talks Live. That's Truth Talks Live. And one more. We also have at Truth Talks Live on TikTok as well. But we have at Operation Guaranteed. And our Operation Guaranteed is about taking our truth to next levels and doing what the government's not doing together, and guaranteed doing something or helping to do something about all this stuff that we have irrefutably proven now as facts.
Right. Well, listen, thank you, Devin. You're a very cool person. I'm
Thank you.
glad that we met.
You too,
And
bro.
we'll talk again
This is
sometime
awesome.
we'll talk again sometime in the future, just even on a personal level or something like that, okay? Take care now and have a good afternoon.
You too, bro. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye.